No, I want you to. I'm doing it for the YouTubers so they can see it.
Yeah, I'm saying you could copy and paste it in there into the
Mm-hmm.
YouTube chat, couldn't you?
Yeah, let's do that.
We had the link in the
So I've got
Hangout chat.
Jinjitsu. Okay, here we go.
So my mother's cousin wants to beat me to death.
Why?
My cousin Nene, not really beat me to death, but she sent me a snippy text. She's a little bit younger than my mom and a little bit older than me. She's about 10 years younger than my mom and 10 years older than me. So it's weird because my mom lived with them for so long. That's her first cousin when she was young. So Renee is like a younger sister to my mom, but Renee in a lot of ways is like an older sister to me. So it's weird. Anyway, so her oldest son, Jared, and his wife, Carly, had a baby, very cute baby, because babies are cute. Yep. And she posted a picture of the baby, Renee did. Renee's the grandmother. So she posted a picture on Facebook, and she said, I can't decide if Hadley, that's the name of their baby girl, looks more like Jared or Carly from when they were babies. And she posted a picture also of my cousin Jared, her son, when he was a baby. And then, of course, Carly, his wife, when she was a baby. And I said, I don't know. She looks kind of like both. It's almost like Jared and Carly had a baby or something. And of course, and a lot of people like click like on that and the little laughing icon because they thought that was funny. And then Renee sent me a text message and she called me a smart ass.
Yeah. Gotta love it. All right. Are you ready, Mark?
I'm ready.
Okay. All right. Coming down 3-2. Hey, Crawl Spacers. Welcome to our February Friday Night Fights with George. George, what's going on?
Oh, not much. We, you know, for the first time in a long time, I'm going to take a back seat and let somebody else kind of drive on this one because there's an era of Spidey history that I myself am not the foremost expert on. Shockingly, I know that's going to be hard to believe. And so you know, and I'm comfortable with handing the reins over to him. Another time, of course, it was this show was violently wrested away from me by J.R. Fettinger during when he usurped me during a Green Goblin appearance.
That's funny.
So, but now because this month we're gonna talk about the Spidey Hostess snack ads from way back in the day, and of course, when you think Spidey Hostess snack ads, you think of Dark Mark Alford.
Mark, what's going on? Thanks for being on to talk about snack cakes.
George, back in I guess it was December or November, I get this Facebook message from Brad saying, "Hey, did you watch the YouTube?" I said, "No." He goes, "George really wants you to come on to be the hostess." And I'm thinking, that'd be great, but that doesn't sound like George wanting to turn over. So I'll wait until it finally came out.
You don't have a dress for that, do you?
Yeah, it's kind of hard for you to be a hostess.
That other voice to join us for the fun is JR. JR, did you eat a lot of snack cakes in the 70s?
Actually, yes, I did. And to celebrate participating, I do have a donut. So, you know.
And also, someone that likes flour that makes Hostess fruit pies is Zach. What's going on, Zach?
I hate you all. All the middle fingers.
Yeah. All right, George, take me through this, or should I hand it over to Mark right off the top? What?
Yeah, I just at the top of the thing, I said, we're giving the wheel over to Alfred. This is Alfred's time to shine, and then you're like, George, take me through this.
All right, Mark.
The one time I literally try to hand it off, and then you intercept.
I give it back. All right, what are we eating on this month?
All right, so we're looking at the Hostess ads. Which covers 1975 to 1982. So the early Bronze Age is quite possibly the finest era of all comic book literature.
True.
And this is coming from an English major, an English teacher. I understand literature. This is top quality stuff. So
now let me ask you this real quick, Dark Mark. Would you not agree as an English teacher that reading comics, especially comics from back in the day, not so much now, but from back in the day, like when Stan was writing, and then when others, you know, like Roy Thomas came on, and then people like Conway and other people, and even through the 80s, you know, that reading comics would expand one's vocabulary exponentially.
Oh yeah, I use old panels from the Stan Lee books as parts of worksheets for grammar and vocabulary.
Very good. Wow. That's awesome.
Yeah. The students, they always roll their eyes. Spider-Man again.
Oh, that's funny. Nice.
That's basically how we review it every month.
So
You know,
which
it's
one?
funny.
Oh, go ahead.
No, I was going to say, you know, it's funny you mentioned that because remember a few years ago when there was a political candidate running for office in Maryland, and one of her ads that to show how bad things would get if she wasn't elected, and you know, this is what will happen if she doesn't get elected, and it was kids sitting in class reading comic books.
Yeah.
I
remember that.
just remember that.
I'd fit right in there.
So of all the ads, you picked two that you want to tackle.
Yes.
Two, maybe three or four. But go ahead. The first one, talk about that one.
Well, I don't even know if we're going to have time to get through one. I mean, because this is, like I'm telling you, this is packed full of every panel.
It's one page, sir.
Yeah. Well, Batman was the first one to do the Hostess ads, but Marvel and Harvey Comics got in on it as well. So it was weird how Hostess wanted the heroes to never eat the snack cakes. They said they didn't want it to look like the hero was endorsing them, which I'm not quite sure why they wanted to pay that much money for the comic books to do this if they didn't want the heroes to endorse them.
That's weird.
But it
So
worked out for Spider-Man.
they had the villains eat them all the time?
The villains ate them sometimes. Sometimes random kids ate them.
Huh.
But very rarely did you see the hero actually eating them.
That's funny. They want to get into the tights. That's why.
And usually, if you ran across one of these, it was not the hero of the comic book you're reading. So if you're reading Spider-Man, you would see an Iron Man or a Human Torch ad, not a Spider-Man ad.
Okay.
So of course, Spider-Man gets more ads than the other heroes because he's the best, and he's got 22 different ads. And I counted up. I did an analysis of which one of the Hostess products Spider-Man likes the best, and of the 22, 3 of them he handed out fruit pies, and 7 of them he handed out cupcakes, and then 12 of them he hands out Twinkies, which makes sense because in the Twinkie takers we learned that he has a grocery store nearby that that has an express line just for Twinkie orders. So with that in mind.
All right,
All right. I bought some Twinkies. I haven't eaten these things in years, so I'm going to
all right,
get into the right spirit here. And see if this is
Let's
good
see
as
if
I
they've
remember.
tasted the same since the 70s. How they taste, sir?
They taste about as good as you think they would taste. All right.
Now, for the record, Hostess went out of business, and somebody came and bought them and brought back Twinkies to the National Treasure Star. So
that's true.
Yeah, and they paid about when because that's like local for me. And when they bought Hostess, they paid. Hostess was in bankruptcy, and I think they paid like 400 or 500 million for Hostess, and then they wound up. The company that bought them wound up flipping the ownership rights to another investor, and they made like over $2 billion on the deal. So not only did they restart the brand, but they also found a way to do it with much better business acumen and much better sense. And yeah, we did. We had like a 4 or 5 month period where we didn't have any damn Hostess, and it was dark here in Dallas. I mean, it was bad times. And
I don't think the fruit pies taste the same, or maybe it's just me. Do you think they taste the same?
I haven't had a fruit pie. I am more of a Twinkie and Ding Dong man. And you know, that and Little Debbie. I eat the shit out of Little Debbie.
Oh, the Little Debbie snack cakes are so good.
More than I should. You know, Star Crunch and
what about those oatmeal pies? Those oatmeal pies.
Ho-hos. Big box of Ho-hos is going to carry me to my grave. It's going to be Ho-hos on one side. It's going to be bacon on the other side.
I mean, oatmeal cream pies and
love those.
Star Crunches are my jam, man.
Oh yeah, Star Crunch is legit.
Mark, what is your snack cake of choice?
Well, I haven't had any of them in a long time, so I guess I'll go with Twinkies because that's what Spider-Man likes.
JR, what's your snack cake of choice?
I always liked the apple pies, the Hostess
me too.
apple pies.
Me too. All right, Mark. So what? Back to you, sir. Go ahead.
All right, so we're going to start with the Spider-Man and the Fly, which was in 1976. So if there's a link in the chat if people want to pull that one up. But this one came out the same year that the Fly came out in the comic books, and this is unusual because normally you got something like Larcenous Lil that was created just for this thing. Here they actually brought in the Fly, which probably means that Lynn Wein or Bill Mantlo wrote this one. You don't get any of the credits, and nobody wanted to take credit for writing them, so we don't know who wrote what. So we start off here with the Fly already having captured Spider-Man. He's strapped down on the table, and I did my research on this. I started looking how much a table like that would cost, and I pulled up a page that human bondage restraints that probably is going to get me fired because I was using my school computer at the time. I didn't follow up on that. I don't have the actual price. Sorry.
Wow.
Oh my gosh. This escalated quickly from fruit
I would have
pies to
been more.
bondage.
I would have been more scared if you had been able to find one to accurately price it. That would have been terrifying.
Wow.
I was going to price the table. I was going to find out how much force it would take to break out those straps. But once I pull that ad up, I shut everything down and hope that they weren't watching.
And I hope you still have your health care and your job. Yeah.
Exactly. For the record, I love Big Brother. Okay. All right. So we get a crazy scenario. Spider-Man saying that he's fallen to his death, and he blacks out, wakes up, and there he is on the table. And apparently the Fly has saved him from certain death so that he could strap him down and kill him.
By the way, McNulty just said 50 Shades of Pie.
That's so wrong.
If I get fired for doing this, I'm going to start a GoFundMe campaign.
Yeah, no doubt.
So speaking of that, just to troll George for a second.
Uh-oh.
At Walmart, they've got like all these 50 Shades, like looking boxes, and one of them was.
How would you know that? Did you look for them at the Walmart?
No. They're like it was like the font. And one of those, if you can see that, is Smokey and the Bandit. And I wanted to
50 Shades of the Bandit.
Yeah, it was like
a lot of people don't realize that 50 Shades of Grey started out as Smokey and the Bandit fan fiction.
I thought it was Twilight, but okay.
No, that's incorrect.
Wow, we're off the rails. Back to the fruit pies.
I blame McNulty.
I do too.
All right. Well, okay. So the Fly, obviously not the smartest plan. He could have just let Spider-Man fall to his death. And we also know he's not very smart because he makes a comment telling Spider-Man not to get worked up in the network of puns. But Spider-Man didn't use a pun at all. So that's just kind of a wasted literary term. Much like the recent annual where Spider-Man says, hey, that's irony, and it's not irony. So he goes up there and he goes, he gets them all taken care of. He goes, I've got everything covered. No wiggling, no squirming. Spidey will get you out of there. But Spider-Man easily breaks out of those straps, which I have no clue on how much force they could contain. He easily breaks out of those straps. But this Fly's he's not worried because this is a top-notch villain here. And we're about to get into a super fight going on here. Spider-Man's ready. The Fly's ready. We've got before Spider-Man can even throw a punch, we see a spider sense going off. We know something's going on, and that's because the Fly has a Zwee gun, and it's spelled right there for us: ZWEEE.
Sweet.
So this a Zwee gun, and it evidently makes some sort of electrical force field around Spider-Man. And now he's really got it. This is even stronger than the restraint table there. So Spider-Man's trapped. The Fly's going to kill him, and I'm worried Yeah, even though I know Spider-Man's still around, I don't know how he's going to get out of this here. But he can move just a little bit inside of that force field, and that's where we learn something. This is a first. This is a Marvel first here. We learn what Spider-Man keeps. I'm hoping it's in his belt and not in his pants. He says it's in his utility belt, but it looks like he's pulling out of his pants, like that gift in the Spider history we're going to hear about next month.
Well, he does have a belt that fits right underneath.
Yeah, that has web shooters.
The top, yeah, the top of his the top half of his costume. But every time I've ever seen it, I've never seen a compartment big enough to contain fruit pies.
No, this is a Twinkie. He's hiding a
Twinkie.
Twinkie.
You still got to be big enough to contain this thing right here.
Because you have to remember, this is back in the 70s, and the Twinkies were bigger back then.
Oh yeah,
and they came 2 in a pack too.
Yeah.
Ooh, 2 in a pack. Yeah.
So the Fly's got his SWE gun, and Spider-Man pulls out his Twinkies out of his belt or pants or something, and that's when the Fly's like, he's a little stunned there. He was not expecting this. I mean, you could tell he's got every avenue covered. But he was not expecting the Hostess golden sponge cake with cream filling. and he's a little taken back by it, but he's still got the gun on him. And this is a moment here in one of the second to last panel that takes me back to If This Be My Destiny. You know, when Spider-Man's got that big thing on his shoulders, he can't get up. You know, if it's in the movie, he's crying and listening to Iron Man give him some inspiration. But this is a Spider-Man. He doesn't have Iron Man there to give him inspiration. He's stuck in that force field.
Oh,
and
God.
in a moment that is so wow. You know, the strength and willpower Spider-Man. He breaks out of that electrical field and hits the Fly. You can tell it takes a lot of energy for him because he thonks him. It says it right there, thonk. And he hits him. And all he's able to do is just knock the gun out of the hand. He doesn't even knock out the Fly. You know, it's just all that strength that just took the break free from there.
The Fly does not let loose of his grasp of the Twinkie either.
No, he holds on to that sucker. If you got to hold to a SWE gun or a Twinkie, I mean, that's an obvious thing right there. You got to hang on to that Twinkie.
Yep.
And he just gives up at that point. Once Spider-Man has knocked his SWE gun out of his hand, it's over for him. All of his contingency plans are done, and he even said, "Hey, go ahead and clip my wings as long as I get a chance to finish my wonderful Hostess Twinkies."
Mm-hmm.
And you can look at Spider-Man right there. He's exhausted. This guy has used everything he could in just a sheer a power moment there. And he calls the Fly his noble enemy and says in a quote that this is right up there with anything that Shakespeare or Mark Twain wrote. He says, "I dispense justice, but tempered with mercy, and sometimes even with Hostess Twinkies." Man, that just gives me chills just listening to that one right there. I mean, that's just
that's so funny. So, how would you rate the fight, Mark? Who won this fight?
I think I was worried. The Fly definitely had the upper hand. He had the SWE gun. He had the restraint table. But in the end, Spider-Man just powered through it. I mean, I'm going to have to give this one to Spider-Man.
George, how would you rate this fight? I think Hostess won.
Yeah, Hostess ultimately wins. And, of course, Spidey wins. But at the same time, Dark Mark, you missed a couple of things here.
Uh-oh.
Number one, especially from an English teacher, I think you would have noticed how many times they refer to one another as friend. which wasn't mentioned. You didn't bring that at all. I mean, like it's
my buzzing fly friend. Yeah.
Like a half a dozen times they call one another friend. Second of all,
this was the time period in the 70s where people were more respectful to each other. Not like today, where the internet culture has just dropped everybody down to the lowest common denominator.
But second point, the Fly at one point. Who we don't know what his association with the Human Fly is. They have similar costumes, but not exact. You know, they both have like the eyepieces and everything, but you know, not. It's like the Fly here is trying to accommodate for other shortcomings, and so his eyes are much bigger than the Human Fly. But at one point, the human fly refers to Spider-Man as an insect imitator. And I'm looking at this and I'm like, you're an amazing hypocrite.
Mm-hmm.
What the hell are you? You're clearly a guy in a suit. What?
And
So what?
Spider is not an insect; it's an arachnid.
So yeah, and
maybe
I'm like,
that's where he was going for. His little science lesson here, because the Hostess ads, they didn't only hawk their goods and give us top quality literature, but they also tried to teach children of the world.
I like that at the end of the day, he's ultimately defeated by sponge cake and rendered animal fat and sugar.
There you go.
That's funny. All
Look
right,
at these word balloons. I mean, they just really they packed in about as much as words as you see in a normal comic book now.
This was the wordiest fight out of all of them, which makes me think that Marv Wolfman probably wrote it.
Could be.
Or either him or Claremont, because boy, those dudes can pack dialogue.
They didn't really put the credits on this. This looks like a Ross Andrews Spider-Man. Do you guys think that's a Ross Andrews Spidey?
I don't see it on the fly's face parts. On the fly's face as much.
Or could it be Sal?
No, this isn't Sal. Sal had even back then, Sal had a much more distinctive style.
Show me the ad.
What?
Show me the ad.
The link is in the YouTube chat. Did you not?
Here you go, Zach. There.
All right. Thank you. I lost the link. That looks very early Sal. Like 70s Sal.
Like spec #1 Sal.
Yeah.
Yeah. Remember the Twinkie, the ads? Well, I guess it still does. Mark, hold up your box of Twinkies. Let's see. Is he still lassoing like a cowboy on it?
He's dressed like a cowboy, but he doesn't have a lasso in mind right here.
Oh, hold it up. Oh yeah, he got rid of his lasso. There. How many calories for a Twinkie these days?
260 for 2 cakes.
Wow.
So,
you know what I just noticed when you hold the box up one more time. I just noticed that a box a little higher. A box of Twinkies is the exact same price as one comic book, $3.99. Look at that.
And I talk about how when Hostess went out of business, it was kind of a dark time around here where I am. Hostess, before the bankruptcy, their headquarters was in Irving, Texas, where I was born. It's where the Cowboys' old stadium was, and they were produced locally for a good while. But now their headquarters by the group that owns them is actually in Missouri.
Oh yeah, I'm glad you brought that up.
Yeah.
When I was in like the 2nd grade, I went on a field trip to the Hostess factory. And at the end, we got cupcakes, and it was just neat to see the machine that stuffs the filling inside the Twinkies. And it smelled so good. It's like one of the world's largest bakeries. And I'll never forget that field trip. That was a fun little field trip. And throughout the whole time, I'm like, I know what fruit pies are because Spider-Man fights crime with fruit pies. So there you go. To 2nd grader Brad, that was a cool tie-in.
Mm-hmm.
So. Now, Mark isn't one to just do one fight. He's going to cram a couple fights in this month's edition of Fight Club. So what's the next Hostess ad we're going to talk about, sir?
All right, the next Hostess ad we're going to talk about is Spider-Man versus Jujitsu, which came out in Walt Disney's Comics and Stories number 462, which I'm sure JR probably has readily available. And that was March 1979. This was a very popular one, and it appeared in 12 different comic books. I mean, this was a top-notch one, right? Jiu-Jitsu is a character that could easily fit in with the Iron Man Netflix show. She needs to be, she's just pop in there one time, kick his rear a little bit, and just appear out of the episode.
That's funny.
All right, so in this one, so everybody can pull that one up there.
Yep, I'm finding the link right now.
She's just hanging out in the park. Spider-Man's walking through the park. I don't know why he's walking through the park. But he's just walking through there. He's got a bag of deli products, and he just wants to get home. You know, he just wants to get home, wants to eat his dinner or lunch or whatever he's got. Probably go find Lisa Sky, his dream date girl from a different Twinkie ad, and just kind of take it easy. But instead, she's waiting for him, and you can see she's ready for business because she's got that cool kung fu outfit going on there with the big sleeves. You know she means business with the big sleeves. If you see a kung fu guy with the small sleeves, he's just an imitator. But she's got the big sleeves and she's ready. She's got her hands on her hips. She's in full fighting stance there.
Right.
It's like she just got out of the dojo.
Exactly. I don't know where the dojo would be. You can't see anything but some trees here. So she pops out. She gives him a karate kick because it says she's Junjitsu, gorgeous but evil expert in karate, kung fu, and other martial arts, which reminds me of Kung Fu Joe from "I'ma Get You, Sucker."
Nice reference.
Well done. Well done.
She's got no motive here. I mean, the Fly, he wants to, he has set himself up for a criminal career. She just wants to kick Spidey's rear end.
Yep.
And she just leaps in. She does this kick. I tried to look up what kind of kick this was, but she's operating on a level of martial arts that I can't find in Google. She's look at that kid.
She also clearly has some sort of preternatural or enhanced capabilities because Spider-Man can dodge machine gun fire.
He can't dodge her foot. This is like the lizard's tail or Stegron's tail.
Stegron's tail.
No defense.
He can't dodge Stegron's tail. Can't dodge Junjitsu's kicks.
Exactly. She comes down with the heel of her foot right there on his solar plexus, and you can just see the impact.
Yeah.
It covers up his whole spider image on his chest. I mean, he's just out. I mean, there's nothing he can do. And then, before he can regain his bearings, she comes around and kicks him right in the chin. You can see that there are 6 stars in that picture. She knows she nailed him. He even says she's more powerful than a bus. So I don't know if she's got super strength or she's just honed her martial arts skills this much, but she is on task, and he can't react. He's got nothing. He's done. In fact, at this point, he's got one move left, and that is to throw her some Hostess
Twinkies.
This isn't a out of his utility belt. I mean, he's pulling into his own deli bag, and you can see the bag's open up. He's giving up his own Twinkies here. He probably bought those at that Express Mark line, and that's the only thing he can do to distract her. And she's done. She's done for the fight. She don't want to fight anymore. She's eating her Twinkies. I mean, who wouldn't at this point want to stop? Eat some Twinkies at this. Here's a nice day in the park. And she goes, Twinkie cakes, my favorite. Delicious golden sponge cakes, fluffy cream filling. I'll finish these. Then I'll finish off Spider-Man. But luckily, our hero's able to get some web around her and get her up in the tree. But it doesn't look like that web's going to hold her. I mean, he's just got her looped in there. She's not even trying to escape. She's busy eating. When she's done eating that, she's full force on. Spidey's got no defense against her. He's getting out of there. Yeah. And he makes an allusion here to a musical, The Carousel. He goes, "Thanks to Hostess, June won't be busting out all over for quite a while." I'm sure you guys all know the old Carousel musical, and look it up on YouTube and listen to that song. I don't know how many kids in 1979 called the reference to a 1959 musical. But,
the thing is, though, June busting out all over is a pretty common saying. It's one that I've heard repeatedly all throughout my life, especially here in the South.
But Spider-Man's kind of scared of her still, even though she's webbed up.
Oh yeah, you can. Even though he's got a mask over his face, you can see the fear. Just the web lines there. You can see the fear.
Yeah,
he got little shake marks around his head, and that little circle, image there.
So, I wonder if Junjitsu has ever been seen again since this one-shot Hostess ad.
Well, I think I think the Twinkies kind of showed her the error of her ways.
It stopped her from going.
I'm pretty sure if we ran into Junjitsu now, she probably has a weight problem. maybe she has the diabetes.
I thought Junjitsu was the robot villain in Godzilla versus Megalon, or not the villain, but anyway, it was in Godzilla versus Megalon.
That's funny. So, Mark, who won this fight?
I'm gonna have to give this one to Junjitsu. I mean, she's webbed up there at the end, but she's obviously able to get out of there. Spider-Man's shaking. He's total fear. Plus, Spidey had to give up his own Twinkies. So Junjitsu, she got the kicks in. She got the Twinkies. She's going to get away. This is a win for Junjitsu. It's a dark day for Spider-Man.
We have a disagreement with George.
Yeah, that was a decent analysis, but this is why you're still an amateur at this.
Oh,
All right. So when we look at Spidey fights, we judge them by who walked away at the end of the fight. One of them's walking away, the other one didn't get what they wanted and is probably going to go to jail. It is more than likely at this point that Jujitsu will be found by the cops while she's eating Twinkies webbed up in a tree, while Spidey has to go back to whatever girlfriend he had at the time and explain why he didn't bring back any Twinkies along with their
So he's probably going to lose. That's probably why we haven't seen Lisa Sky ever again.
Right, because she didn't get any damn Twinkies. But some other key things that you missed here, Dark Mark.
Wait. We're talking about who's walking away here. Look at that panel again. She's
webbed up in a tree like all the other criminals that he leaves for the cops to get.
No, he usually webs them completely. She's just looped in there. There's no way those policemen are going to take her.
She's adhered by something that's as strong as steel cable, and it's sticking to her body.
I think we need to go to an outside opinion. JR, who wins this fight?
I don't know. Spidey didn't keep his Twinkies. I mean, the whole idea of fighting this woman or whatever was that he not surrender his Twinkies, and that's what he did. I mean, I don't know. Got to go with June.
I'm going with June also. Zach, who do you think won the fight?
June.
Oh, why?
Okay.
Well, again, I mean, if the entire premise is that Spidey protects the delicious goodness that is, his Twinkies, why, pray tell, would he just give it away to distract her long enough? I mean, he lost one of the packages. So, I mean, I got to give it to June. She not only did she kick him in the face, not just like with 6 stars, like swinging it around his head. Spider-Man got his ass beat by Jujitsu about Twinkies.
You're all missing the goddamn point. All right. In each and every one of these Hostess ads, the entire point of the ad is that the Twinkie itself is so delicious it can be used as a weapon to deter evil. He uses the Twinkies as a weapon the same way he does with his caustic level of sarcasm and humor. So you're all missing the point, like the fools that you are.
Oh, we're fools.
But I'm going to point out some other things that were missed in here in Dark Mark's analysis of what went down. First of all, and I'm shocked McNulty didn't catch this in chat. In that third panel there, the one on the left on the middle, we have another 50 Shades of Spidey moment.
Oh, no.
If I could keep her hands busy, if I could take care of her feet before they take care of me.
Oh,
that's whoever was writing this had some stuff going on. Had some exciting weekends probably.
I have to add a comment that McNulty just did in chat. He says if Twinkies are made of clone batter, does that mean Spider-Man's a cannibal?
No, because Spidey himself is not made out of flour. Now, if Spidey was to take a bite out of Ben Reilly, it's the same thing as taking a bite out of a Twinkie.
Would it be? It would be taking a bite out of crime, like McGruff.
I hate you all.
Okay, so the other thing that was missed here is in the second to last panel, there on the bottom on the left, Jujitsu suddenly looks like a young Dolly Parton with black hair.
That is, I see that. I really do.
I kind of see it too.
This is why I'm paid the big bucks on this thing, and it's
wow.
This is why you're mega George.
I will yield to the master here. I know my place.
This is why technically right now what we're doing is like assistant editors month.
I don't know, Mark. Do you want to do one more? Or you think two's good?
No, one more. We got to do the other one.
Go for the trifecta. All right. Which one are we on to now?
We have to do the other one.
The Moreland.
The other one is the only legitimately funny Dan thing's done on purpose. Dan Slott's done on purpose in a Spider-Man comic.
That's funny. Okay. Where did this one appear? It was in Spider-Man in Late for a Date, written by Dan Slott and Ty Templeton.
It was in the Spider-Verse anthology book.
Okay. All
Yeah,
right.
we get the credits for this one. Dan Slott,
Yeah.
Ty Templeton, Chris
Mayor.
and Spider-Man late for a date. And he's got a date with MJ because he lost Lisa Sky in the Jujitsu one. So he's got his date with MJ here. I just lost it. Pull it back down. He goes, no web swinging for this wall crawler, not when I've got my hands full with flowers and sweets for my date with MJ. Now I better shake a leg if I don't want to be late. But then we see a dark figure hitting the whole building, shaking the whole building, knocking Spider-Man right off the building. So we know the power of this dark figure if you can knock Spider-Man loose. He comes down. He's hanging on to his flowers. He's hanging on to his chocolate sweets. But like a cat, he lands on his feet. He's ready. He's ready for action there. And there we see Orland. All right.
Yeah.
Spider-Man, they don't care. He's like, hey, pal, what's your problem? I almost dropped my gal's posy. So he don't even know what's about to come down the pike at him. We are unfortunately a little bit of dramatic irony that we know all the misery that is Moreland. And I don't mean as a character. I just mean as pure storytelling
Yes.
nightmare.
Yes.
So there he is staring them down. And Spidey reaches into the MJ's bag of sweets, and he throws out some golden sponge cakes.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I want to make it very clear that I'm saying golden sponge cakes. We'll come back to that later. That's an important part. He throws out the golden sponge cakes, but Moreland is not at all impressed and immediately goes in for the kill. You can see him just sucking the life right out of him. What are you doing? Those are golden sponge cakes. And he's done. Only your life force can sate my hunger. And sate's a good word for Dan Slott to use. What a sweet and succulent soul you have, the greatest snack of all. And then it ends with the death of Hostess Spidey. Or
Yeah.
is
Well, yes and no.
it?
Yes
Yeah,
and no.
this is not Hostess Earth 51914. This
No.
is some generic knockoff Spider-Man here. Hawking the great value golden sponge cakes.
I was going to
Walmart.
say those aren't Hostess Twinkies.
On the Marvel Wiki, despite the Hostess Spidey actually have his own designation?
Yes, 51914.
Wow,
That's awesome.
that's really cool.
See,
So there
that's
could
why
be
you
an
want me
ongoing.
like that's where the expert part comes in here.
That's really funny.
I'm impressed.
This would have been a lot funnier if he had thrown out the golden sponge cakes and Moreland was distracted by those and Spider-Man got away for his date. But I guess they already did something similar to that with the newspaper strips, so they didn't want to repeat themselves.
Right. So who won on this one, Mark?
Well, Moreland did take out the generic brand Spider-Man golden sponge cake. But if this is a Hostess ad show, Friday Night Fights, I'm going to have to go with Spider-Man from the Hostess world because Moreland never even came in there. He's still got his Twinkies. Everything's good there.
George, do you agree?
Well, Spider-Man got murdered, so I think. I mean, as much as I hate to say it, I mean, technically, we have to give the win to Moreland.
Yeah.
But no, I mean, this to me, I mean, there was only I could count the number of things that I actually enjoyed from Spider-Verse, and still have a lot of fingers left on one hand.
It's this one and the newspaper strip one, right?
This one and Lady Spider.
Yeah.
I really liked Lady Spider. I really did. Those were literally like the only two parts of Spider-Verse that I actually enjoyed. Like when they went to when Spidey 2099 and Lady Spider were like in her timeline.
Yeah.
And they fought like their version of the Sinister Six. That was bananas.
Yeah.
But of course that was only peripheral to Spider-Verse because Peter David was writing that in 2099.
Right.
But that was a really good story actually.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, I mean, it's, I did enjoy this just because it was funny. I mean, at the time when we were surrounded by so much crap, literally on just about every page.
Mhm.
This was kind of like a little comedic breath of fresh air that I actually appreciated. And like I said, it's one of the few things that Slot's ever done on purpose that was legitimately funny.
You suggested one more, Mark. You want to do it? I say we do it. The trap, the Hostess trap one.
There's really not a fight in that one. I only suggest that if we were running out of time. There's
Well,
not
now the other one though, the other one was one of the questions, Dark Mark, that you answered correctly when you won Spider Jeopardy that one year, or the year before last.
Yeah, that was my first question.
Yeah,
Larcenous Lil. I was excited. You said that one. Yes.
That's funny.
You said Hostess. I was like, I knew I had this one.
There's not. I agree. There's not really a fight in there. He just gets in a rope. He throws some Twinkies and he's done. Yeah.
Larcenous Lil, the only one to employ minions. And
oh yeah. Yeah.
Yep.
All right. So Mark, that was awesome. How many Twinkies out of that box have you eaten so far? Are you just up to one?
I managed to get through the one.
Okay, there you go. So, of those 3 fights, how many did Spider-Man win? How many did the villain win? Who comes out on top on this episode? Hostess.
Yeah.
Hostess, yes.
All right, cool.
Yeah, Hostess.
Those were some good things that have back in those old. That's worth buying the old comic books just to see those kind of ads in there.
Mm-hmm.
Well, that and the stories were generally better, but yeah, I mean the ads, sure.
That's funny.
Yeah.
All right. We'll end the February one right there. Okay, let me pull up the electric company we're going to talk about. The spoiler.
The spoiler.
And so we're doing the spoiler and Queen Bee, right?
The spoiler,
Right.
Queen Bee, and that. What's the third one?
Here, I've got the other one.
Yeah, the Thumper.
The Thumper.
Okay.
Spidey
The
jumps
Thumper.
the Thumper.
Okay,
So-
let's start with the spoiler.
Can y'all send me the Google Doc?
Yeah.
Hang on. I'll
I'll
send
send it to you, Zach. I've already sent it to you. It's in your email.
There's one. Here's 2.
This one's going to be harder for our listeners because
Yeah, they'd
They
have to
can't
watch
just-
another
yeah.
YouTube video. Okay, there's 3. Okay. All right, coming down. Are you guys ready? Okay. 3, 2. Hey, Crawl Spacers, welcome to our March Friday Night Fights with George. George, we talked about fruit pies last month. This month, what are we talking about?
Did we talk about fruit pies last month? I seem to recall we talked about Twinkies last month, Brad.
I apologize. I got my snack cakes mixed up, which is not usually a problem for me.
You had one job.
And it was. So, what are we talking about this month, sir?
Well, once again, since last month worked so well, we once again bring in crawl-space reviewer and resident funny man Mark Alford, Dark Mark, as we call him.
What's up, Mark?
Hey,
Welcome back.
And this
I
time
didn't
we're
even change clothes in the whole month.
I just assume that's just what you wear all the time. It's an incredible shirt, right?
Mr. Incredibles,
Yes.
yeah.
Yeah. I mean, that's appropriate. And so we're going to turn it over again to Dark Mark to sort of half-ass his way through coverage of the Electric Company. And
We're talking electric company skits. Yeah.
Electric Company. Yeah. And back then, of course, on this show, you've heard JR talk about the Spidey Super Stories era, which JR was a big fan of because they had big, easy to read print. And
It was they were recommended by Morgan Freeman. So
yeah,
I mean,
and they had much simpler
Easy
plot
reader.
lines that were easy for JR to keep up with.
The electric company was full of nice, wonderful things.
That was he trying to do Morgan Freeman, which did not.
By the
Okay.
way, JR and Zach are on the line with us to join in the Hostess and the
Yeah, thanks for the
electric company fun.
Ah,
And so yeah, I mean that's what we're gonna take a look at. We've got 3 fights to highlight, really impacting things to look at that Dark Mark is going to take us through.
All right, Mark, which one are we starting with?
Well, we'll start with a little bit of background on the Electric Company.
Okay.
So back in 1971, you guys weren't born yet except for JR and me. Nixon wanted a Sesame Street type show for older kids to teach them how to read. And so the Children's Television Network, they got a group together with Morgan Freeman, unknown actor at the time, Rita Moreno, Bill Cosby made some appearances here and there. And we even had the voice of Gene Wilder for their resident superhero, Letterman, which
spoiler faces his greatest challenge.
Whoa.
It's always been my
Is that
greatest
me?
mission.
It's somebody.
not
So
me.
Somebody needs to mute that.
Somebody's playing the actual YouTube video as Mark is talking.
Sorry. Didn't mean to do
So
that.
they went with Letterman for a while, but if you watch any of the Letterman clips after the show, go YouTube Letterman clips. They're not that great. I mean, they're pretty awful. The one I put up on the cobwebs has Letterman and the villain both like spying on this guy while he's in the bathtub, which is
Really, the only reason to watch those is because it's got the voice of Gene Wilder.
yeah, that's about it.
I mean, people who have nostalgia and fond memories of Gene Wilder and like things like Blazing Saddle and, you know, things like Young Frankenstein and other movies from the 80s, you know, and it's fun on that level, but they're not that great.
No.
They're really not.
So they were looking for a better superhero to get the kids involved, and that's when they contacted Marvel. And Marvel, on their part, they gave them the rights for free. They didn't get a single cent out of this Spider-Man licensing here. And Electric Company was able to do a couple of things with it.
I'm pretty sure that's a situation in which Stan kind of figured that the amount of public attention that would generate, you know, and goodwill would probably more than pay for itself. And, you know,
Yeah,
and
got
people,
me. That was my first experience.
That was my first experience. I remember when I was a kid, I was thinking that was a high quality acting. This is like real stuff going on here. And
that was the biggest part. That was the biggest moment in Electric Companies when Spider-Man showed up, and it didn't happen every episode.
No, there's only a couple each season.
You got as excited about that as you did anytime your parents let you stay up and watch the Tonight Show and you saw the Mighty Carson art players. Like listen, you know, like in the show's lineup, and you were like, "Oh, they're going to do some crazy things."
Yeah.
Yeah, so
Anyway.
they started looking for somebody to play Spider-Man, and Danny Seagram, he was a Muppeteer and played Big Bird a couple of times. He thought, I want this job, and so he went in to apply for the job, and they said, "Here, put this suit on so we can see what you look like."
Technically,
And
the first Spider-Man actor.
Exactly, he is it. Danny Seagram. He predates them all. We need to get him on the show, Brad. That's who I want to hear.
Seagram.
The first Spider-Man live action actor.
Yeah, that's true.
He in order to get the job, he decided he had to go all out. So he puts on the suit and he climbs up on the filing cabinet. So when the guy comes back in to interview him, he leaps off the filing cabinet onto the guy's desk and does his poses for Spider-Man. The guy was like, "All right, you're hired."
That's funny.
And he also he spent his own money, bought himself a $300 suit, Spider-Man suit, and he did appearances in malls and such to make some extra money for himself.
A little extra
And
quan.
Marvel was okay with that. Yeah, a little bit extra quan. We're going to start with the very first one. Spidey meets the spoiler.
Cool.
And it starts off with the
spoiler sounds like
the
it
theme
legitimately-
song, Spider-Man.
The spoiler, just the name of the character, the spoilers, legitimately sounds like it could have been a Steve Ditko inspired character.
Oh,
Based
exactly.
on the teachings of Ayn Rand.
Hey, you want me to play the video? You know,
No.
That's funny.
Zach, if you want to, you can sing the theme song.
no, I'm not.
No.
Spider-Man. Nobody else. You are.
The wheels are so off. This
And nobody
bus.
did know who the Spider-Man was. Peter Parker wasn't even he wasn't a character in the Electric Company. It was all Spidey all the time.
And this, at the end of this episode, we do when it shows the comic panels, we do see Aunt May in there.
Yes,
Do
you
we?
do.
I mean,
Oh,
I don't
yeah,
want to tell
we
your
do. That's
business.
right. No. I forgot that one there. Yeah. All right. So there's no wasted exposition. Morgan Freeman, he's narrating. He says, Spidey runs across a sandwich on the sidewalk while looking for something. We don't even need to know what that something is. It's not relevant to the story. So we'll go straight into it. Now, Hostess was wondering, why the heck is Spider-Man stopping to pick up a sandwich off the sidewalk? But I have to assume that times are tough. We've got a Spider-Man, he doesn't have a job. Saving people doesn't really pay the rent, and it definitely doesn't buy him stuff that he's not. This is not Hostess Spidey. He doesn't have spare money to go to the deli and stuff.
Now,
He
now
has to
see,
pick
in the
up stuff.
in the morning he would get wheat cakes, and now we know why he ate so many wheat cakes is because he wasn't eating between then and supper time or dinner time.
Exactly.
And so I mean, if he's like looking for a sandwich on the street,
Plus, this was the 70s, right? So it was a period of high interest rates, high inflation. I mean, and Jimmy Carter was president. I mean, it was a pretty sad time.
oh yeah, yep.
So he swings down. He picks up the sandwich to eat it, but he can't eat it because somebody has spoiled the sandwich. It's a rubber glove sandwich.
It's called
As Morgan
salmonella.
Freeman said, hard to bite, difficult to chew, and impossible to swallow. And Spider-Man's just sitting there looking at it. I mean, he just can't believe it. Then he looks over and sees that someone had spoiled the fire hydrant for dogs. They put a sign that says, "No dogs allowed," right there on the fire hydrant.
And you
Spider-Man's
can even see in your head some poor dog coming by and reading the sign, because apparently that's what dogs can do. They can read signs. That's why you put it on a hydrant that says, "Hey dog, don't pee here."
And dogs are good about obeying signs too,
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Those old Snoopy cartoons, "No dogs allowed."
No
Or
dogs
right,
allowed.
right out of the library. So Spider-Man figures out this is the spoiler, and that's when we get to see the spoiler. He looks. I would have thought this was Mark Hamill. The way the guy sounds, the way the guy looks,
It does.
it's just like Mark Hamill, doesn't it?
It does. The spoiler
In
sounds
my
exactly
mind,
like a Mark
came on
Hamill.
and did this show.
Yeah.
I'm convinced Mark Hamill came on and did the show. This is how George Lucas found him for Star Wars. I'm going to say that as fact. Don't bother looking it up on Wikipedia. Just go with it. It's fact. So Mark Hamill, he likes to spoil things. It says he likes to spoil cake, and you see him pick a cake up out of his bag and just throws it in the street. It's his own cake. It's his own cake. It doesn't matter to him. He just wants to spoil things. It says he likes to spoil ice cream. And you see two people sitting on the bench reading comic books with the ice cream. And he comes up behind them with some cymbals and slams it and makes the ice cream flat. And she didn't even hear it. I don't even understand how that worked. But those symbols, you can't mess with those symbols. Those are deadly right there. And that's the point we understand. Spider-Man, he's in for it. This guy's going to spoil Spider-Man's day. I mean, this could be his greatest foe outside of maybe Jujitsu.
And I like that in the symbol scene. One of the people on the bench is Luis Avalos, who, if you watched movies or in TV back in the 70s and 80s, this dude was everywhere.
Oh, yeah.
He was like in all of the things.
He probably did this for free.
No, he was one of the regular players, so he was definitely getting some money for it.
Getting something for it.
Yeah.
All right, so the spoiler says what his greatest ambition is, and that's to spoil Spider-Man's day. And then it gets really dark for a kid's show because he says, and by spoil, he means kill Spider-Man. That's when, man, the 70s were dark times. They were dark times. So every kid right there, they just know this is it, man. We're going to watch Spider-Man die on TV. How can this happen? And so Spider-Man, though, he's not one to just sit back and let things happen. Because guy spoiled his sandwich. Some poor dog can't use the bathroom on the hydrant. So he rolls up a comic book and comes after the spoiler. He's not scared of him because it's Spider-Man. He's got no fear. He just runs right on in. Damn the torpedoes, full speed ahead type stuff. And he takes that rolled up comic book and he hits. He tries to hit Spoiler, but Spoiler, he's not a one trick pony. He's got a toilet plunger there. Those things, those things are deadly right there. He pulls out, he blocks that, and we get some fancy footwork going on. You definitely see Danny Seagram's dancing background shining through on this one as he leaps around back and forth around Mark Hamill there, and but in the end, he can't beat the Spoiler. The Spoiler gets knocked back, but before Spider-Man can do anything, he's on him like the Flash. And I don't mean Flash Thompson. I mean like the other guy from the other universe. Man, he's like, boom, hits him in the head with that plunger, and Spidey's out. I mean, he's down. You know, this is the threat that's real here. I felt more for this than I did the whole clone conspiracy. I mean, I was worried here watching it. So he gets him down the ground and he leaps up on top of him and in a very awkward pose.
Yeah, I see it right now. Yeah, it's awkward, boy.
And Spidey realized that he was going easy on the spoiler a little bit. That was a big mistake because the spoiler, he gets those symbols out, and we know what happens because we saw the ice cream. And Spider-Man, he's gonna get smashed flat. But luckily, at the last minute, his Spider Six kicks in. He goes all Spider-Man mode and just blocks those symbols. And once he knocks those out, none of that leaping that Spoiler could do before can save him. Because he takes Spoiler by the left hand and swings him so hard, he goes head first into a building and dislodges bricks and knocks him out right there. It maybe even more because I did do some research here and I didn't run in danger of getting fired for doing this research. Mortar can resist up to 600 pounds per square inch because he didn't break the bricks. He just broke the mortar because the whole bricks are still full there. And all that's needed to crack a skull is anywhere from as low as 16 to 196 pounds of force. Oof. So if he knocked that mortar out and knocked those bricks loose, a guy on the front page, he pointed out, a guy named Arnie here. Arnie pointed out that Spider-Man probably kills the spoiler right here in this first episode. And if you look there at the very end, Spider-Man does have, I agree with Arnie, Spider-Man has a what have I done look, as he's standing there over the corpse of the spoiler. And Morgan Freeman, he tries to clean it up some for the kids. He says, Spider-Man stops the spoiler, or does he? And hopefully hoping that the kids will go, oh, okay, the spoiler might come back. But I think that, or does he is, or did he kill him?
For a corpse, he's holding his head off the ground pretty well.
It could be propped by a brick or something. I don't know. Or that neck's broken at a bad angle, But Mortis already set in.
Yeah. 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 That's yeah.
So that finishes up the first.
Who do you think? Who won that one, Mark?
Hands down, Spider-Man. I mean, he's just like Moreland kills the Spidey and the Hostess ads from last month. Spidey kills the spoiler here. It's a dark day, but sometimes things have to be done.
Right. What do you think, George?
No, clearly this was a one-sided ass kicking. And it's funny as they zoom out and you see the panels from, above there with Aunt May clearly happy that Spider-Man is alive, and Dr. Octopus and the panel next to her clearly vexed that Spider-Man wasn't killed, but also probably a little happy because now that means he can try to kill Spidey again himself.
JR, what do you think? Was this a one-sided fight?
Yeah, I'd say so. And there was a deleted, of course, there's a deleted scene where Easy Reader is trying to go to the bathroom, but the spoiler switches the signs and Easy Reader walks into the wrong door and knocks himself out. So, the spoiler was even more deadlier than he was portrayed here. So he deserved whatever he got. I mean, effing with Easy Reader, there's no
Don't do that.
No redemption for that.
Hey, Mark, real quick before we go to the next fight, can you turn on a light real quick? It got dark in your kitchen.
They don't call me Dark Mark for nothing.
I know. It literally, you're adjusting the lighting. There we go. That'll look better. Oh, Dark Mark is well lit now. There we go. Much better. Much better. All right.
There we go.
So what fight are we doing now? We've got 3 Spidey Super Stories fights.
We're going to go to one that doesn't have a very good YouTube copy called Spidey versus Queen Bee.
Okay.
And this one, I don't know. Well, I don't know how much a little bit background that you're willing to go into here.
You go right ahead.
All right. But this one features Hattie Winston, veteran actress Hattie Winston, as the Queen Bee, and she was one of the regulars back on there. And of course, later she went on the Ted Danson CBS show Becker, which she's very well known for. But I actually like her as an actress. She's always really really good. And actually back when they were making Electric Company back then, she's also pretty foxy. But you can't tell that here because she's dressed up like a giant bee.
There's a lot of
so
bee puns in this one here. Morgan Freeman is once again narrating it, and he's like, beware, and Spider-Man must be careful and stuff like that. There's no reading. Most of these were designed to help kids read. Spider-Man didn't have a mouth or his mask, so he couldn't speak. He would just make a word balloon, and people would look at the word balloon, and they would read what he said to help the kids at home learn how to read what Spider-Man was saying. But there isn't really much of this at all. It's just all fight on this one, which makes it a great episode for Friday Night Fights here. This one is even possibly darker for our hero than the spoiler one was. So Spider-Man is just swinging around, and he stops because he sees two guys dressed up as worker bees just walking around going buzz, 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 and they got their arms up like little wings, and they're just kind of making all kinds of noise. The Spider-Man thinks this is kind of odd, so he wants to know what's going on, and they just kind of buzz around, and then they walk away. And you would think that slow as they're walking, Spider-Man be able to follow them easily. But these guys, there's more to these villains, these henchmen, than meets the eye, because Spider-Man loses track of them. He can't quite find them all the way. He can a little bit. He at least knows the direction they're going. And that's when they go back and we learn who the real villain is, Queen Bee, and she lives in a big hive. You can see this huge hive there. She's in there. She is his arch enemy here. And even though we've never seen her before, she makes it clear that there's been some episodes that we were not privy to where they have crossed paths before. Because when she asked her worker bees, did anybody follow them? And they're like, yeah, Spider-Man was around there. She's a little nervous because she doesn't want him to mess up her plans. And then Morgan Freeman tells us what her plans are. He says, Queen Bee always gets what she wants, and now she wants the whole world. And then she says, I always get what I want, and now I want the whole world. Just in case you didn't get it from Morgan Freeman, she has to back that up. So she rewards her workers with honey, and you get the idea that maybe this honey is some type of psychotropic drug or something that keeps them in line. I'm not quite sure what's all going on there, but they're loving it up a bit, and then we see Spider-Man. He's almost like he's flying. He's just hanging onto the web, and he's just moving horizontally right through the sky.
Obviously, a few more bucks for the special effects here.
This predates the Superman. You will believe a man can fly. I mean, this is where the real special effects are happening right here. So Spider-Man, he's swinging through the city. He finds a hive. You don't always see a big hive right there in the middle of all these concrete buildings, and so he realized I got to go in there. But what he's not prepared for is that Queen Bee has called in her number one henchman, the Beekeeper.
Oh,
Louis Avalo
right there. Yes,
Louis Avalo.
And he's all excited to help out Queen Bee. She tells him the only way to beat Spider-Man is for them to get their poison bee fang. And it's hard to hear Morgan Freeman when he's trying to explain this fang. And it's hard to hear her when she says fang. So I had to go back and find a closed caption version. So the name of the bee is Fang, and that's what they need for her to rule the world. And they're going to use it on Spider-Man.
That's fine.
So he comes in, and the Beekeeper, he releases the bees, and Spider-Man is able to get some web on the Beekeeper. But the bees are already out, Just think of that Oprah meme out there. Bees, bees, bees. There's bees everywhere. Spider-Man, he's getting stung. He can't hardly see straight. He's got the Beekeeper cornered, but he can't move, right? Because he can't get away from these bees. And then those two worker bees, they come buzzing down to him. They start bumping them with their butts, and I'm assuming they got. I'm assuming that there's some stingers on their butts, but they're bumping him there. And Spider-Man, he can't get out of that. He can't web them up. He can't web up bees. He can't. You're not going to web up bees.
No,
And so he's
just
stuck
look at
in
the,
this.
just look at the Stegron fights. He can't do it.
Yeah,
I
he
mean,
can't
not
do it.
Stegron, the Swarm fights. Yeah,
You got your awesome villains mixed up.
I'm so sorry.
No, they both start with S. It's understandable.
My bad.
So it's looking bad for Spider-Man. Queen Bee gets away with Fang, and we see there in the last bit there that Spider-Man he's covered with bee stings. I mean, and Morgan Freeman even says he got stung a lot. You know, you can it's right through his suit. You know, these bee stings are like swelling up through his suit, and it says that Queen Bee got away with Fang. And Morgan Freeman declares Spider-Man the victor here, but I'm gonna have to disagree with Morgan Freeman because she got away. She got away with Fang, and Spider-Man got all the bee stings. I don't see what all he did was he just escaped death from bee sting, which is probably wouldn't have happened. I did some research because that's what I do. An average adult can survive 10 stings per pound of body weight, so most adults can handle more than 1,000 stings. I would have thought that would have killed you, but no. Did the research.
Well, this fight reminds me a lot of the first Friday night fight we ever did, Brad, with the first, which was Swarm.
Oh, okay.
And there was a moment in there where Spider-Man was like, how do I fight bees? And he got stung like 570,000 times. By not that I'm exaggerating just a little bit, but I mean, remember there was at one point where he's literally just covered in bee stings, and it didn't drop him then. So this is consistent with canon. First of all, but yes, I also watched this was kind of scratching my head, wondering if Morgan Freeman, if Easy Reader watched the same fight that I did, because Spider-Man clearly got his ass whooped.
That's funny.
Yeah, there's no fight in Queen Bee.
Yeah.
You're
So
lucky.
I think Morgan Freeman was just trying to keep the kids from panicking, thinking that maybe Spidey lost a fight or whatever, and Queen Bee was out there and whatever. He just didn't want there to be panic among the kids watching the show. So that's probably it.
So
But
Queen
he may
Bee
be trying
is
to keep himself from being panicked because he says it real serious. He got stung a lot.
so Queen Bee is the clear victor in this one.
I'm giving it to Queen Bee.
Yeah,
Oh yeah, I don't see how you don't.
that's funny. All right, we got one more. Which one is this one? This is
This is the Thumper.
Spidey dumps the thumper.
Spidey thumps the thumper.
Once again, the Thumper played by the fantastic Hattie Winston, who is doing her best impersonation of Napoleon Bonaparte.
Now, Brad, I'm gonna give you a little bit of background here.
Okay.
The Thumper turned evil after she did not receive a yellow pony at a birthday party.
Oh man.
So as soon as she finished her cake and ice cream, she started a life of crime. And this life of crime meant that she dressed up as Napoleon Bonaparte and put on a boxing glove. And when people weren't looking, she thumped them in the head with her boxing glove and just lay them out.
That's funny. Don't mess with her.
She hits what's his name? George. He
Luis
comes up and
Avalos?
asks her. Yes, she hits him,
Yeah.
knocks him out because he's all excited because Napoleon Bonaparte rides the same bus as he does, the number 2. But she like pops him one. He's laying out. Some other guy comes in and says, "Oh, looks like somebody got mugged. I don't want to get involved." So he just like steps over the body and walks over close to Napoleon Bonaparte, and he gets knocked out. And this is crazy at this point because you realize that she is a legitimate threat, even though she does like to dress up as a Frenchman. All right, and then so Spider-Man comes in, and the writer of this particular episode gets how Spider-Man's spider sense work. Unlike Slott in the latest Spider-Man Annual number 42, Spider-Man Annual number 42. If you have not read it, save your money. Spider-Man's spider sense doesn't go off, and he assumes is because it's not a threat to him, it's a threat to Betty next to him. And so even though Spider-Man's here and the Thumper's not a threat to him, his spider sense goes off, and so he goes and makes it his problem. And that's when it gets real, because the Thumper, she's not going to sit around and wait for Spider-Man to web her up like some of these other Electric Company villains do. You know, she takes action. This is Hattie. This is Queen Bee in another alternate universe or something. She is not sitting back here. She takes out that boxing glove, and she thumps Spider-Man before he can even figure out what's going on. I mean, he has no clue what's happening. And he's flat on his butt. Just, you know, we don't have the little birds, but we should have had the little birds going around his head. Junjitsu gave him 6 stars from a kick to the head. This is a definite 6-star hit. Spider-Man, he's down. Luckily, he can get himself together just fast enough to shoot that web. That spectacular special effects they had going on Electric Company there, with that very realistic looking web shooting out of his hand right there, and gets her taken care of. And we all know the boxing gloves, that's not going to get through that web. You know, maybe a knife.
Once it's had time to harden, like you have to be like Hulk or Thing strong to be able to tear through that stuff.
Or Junjitsu strong, something like that.
No, that's not accurate.
And Spider-Man heads home, as Morgan Freeman says, only a little the worse for wear. Whew. This was a tough one. This was a hard one. It was just a quick reflexes of Spider-Man that saved the day. But he probably has a concussion or something after this, yeah.
Which means that he probably left this fight and beat up the X-Men.
Yeah, I think it's exactly where he was heading.
It's a legit thing to happen. Brad, you're muted. Did you mute yourself on purpose?
I just so you know what I'm doing, because you guys because the panelists demanded it. I have been searching for a contact information for the Electric Company actor who played Spider-Man, and I found his name, like you guys said, was
Danny Seagram.
Danny Seagram, and I found a website called 13thdimension.com, and they did an interview with him, and I'm emailing the guy who wrote the article.
Oh my
To
goodness!
see if I can get a contact info for Danny Seagram, so we could interview the Spider-Man, the very first actor to ever play Spider-Man on film.
In our chat, Venkman noted that Spidey and the Queen Bee was also included on the Spidey Super Stories record from 1977, which had some other cool things on it as well.
To hear Spider-Man talking on that one.
Yeah, I think they even did like an origin story on that one, maybe.
Right, that's funny.
So yeah, but no, clearly this was I mean, one of them walks away and the other one goes to jail. I mean, it was a tough fight, but at the same time, Spidey walks away and with a concussion probably defeats the X-Men.
Yeah.
Which is actually a thing that has happened before. Spider-Man actually has.
He left here, went to their book, and beat them. Yeah.
Yeah, probably, most likely. That's exactly how that played
funny.
out.
Also, because nobody has done it yet. Not the bees. Come on.
Yes. not the bees.
Not the bees.
So here's a question for you, Mark. What do you like better? Do you like Hostess Fruit Pie Spider-Man, or do you like the Spidey Super Stories Spider-Man?
Well, before I did the Cobwebs articles, I would have said the Electric Company, because that was what got me into Spider-Man.
Yeah.
But after going back and rewatching some of those Electric Company ones, yeah. I'm going to have to go with the Hostess ads.
There were 2 things that were running on TV before I became a Spider-Man reader, which I did at the age of 3. And I say reader in quotes, but that's when my mom started buying them for me when I was a wee lad. One of them was the Electric Company, and the other one was the reruns. The station, one of the stations here in North Texas, was still running reruns of the Spider-Man 60s cartoon. Yeah. So yeah, this was responsible probably for getting a lot of people into Spider-Man. Again, probably why Stan Lee was like, you know what, just do it.
Yep, very smart.
You don't have to pay us a thing. Just do it.
JR, how old were you in the 70s when this stuff came out?
40, 41?
Close, pretty close. Probably, let's see. I was born in 63, so, could have been anywhere from, 12 to 14 at the time.
Yeah, this is too old for a teenager.
Yeah, but although looking back on these or whatever, I have to give the Thumper the victory here, just because Hetty Wilson looks like she's having a blast. The very first, the very, and Spidey, Spidey just, he just uses this webbing. He gets knocked flat on his ass, and he resorts, to his oldest, cheapest, lamest gimmick.
Yeah.
But that first minute that she's on. I don't have the sound up or anything, but just how expressive she is and everything.
Yeah.
She just looks like she's having a blast.
Zach, were you too young to remember these, or did you see them when they were on?
I did not. I'm
Okay.
the youngest pup here, so
Yeah.
my exposure to Spider-Man primarily was the '94 show.
Yeah.
And the X-Men, obviously the '92 show. But I didn't see any of this. If I watched either of the two between this and Sesame Street, it was Sesame Street. So
Yeah.
Elmo loves you.
And I don't. And Mark, you may know more of this than I do, since you're the guest expert on this. But I don't recall, because one of my favorite actress or actor person on the electric company was Rita Moreno.
Mm-hmm.
He's the one who did the Hey You Guys, I believe.
Yeah, Hey You Guys. And of course, Rita Moreno by that time had won an Academy Award for Best Supporting Actress from West Side Story. She was a Broadway actress, singer, dancer. She was all over the place, and she was cool, and she was foxy. I'm not gonna lie to you. I had a thing for Rita Moreno back in the day. And I don't recall her ever being in one of these.
I don't think she was.
Oh, and a Spider-Man?
Yeah,
Sure.
I don't think she was ever.
She played the Jungle Girl, didn't she? Didn't she play the Jungle Girl skit?
No, that was a different gal.
No,
Yeah, it was a different gal. Yeah,
I can't
Janet or
remember
something like
this
that.
one.
I
Yeah.
think. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't.
But,
none of the ones that I could find. They're not all on YouTube, but none of the ones I could find, I don't remember seeing her in any of them.
Wow.
Yeah, it's unfortunate. I wonder if maybe her involvement was like a little more sporadic or sparing, because she probably was getting paid at that time, probably more than anybody else except Bill Cosby, who was on it when it first started for a couple of years.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, he was the car salesman who always lied.
Yeah, so it makes me wonder if maybe that's why that sort of precluded her from being in these
That's
things.
funny. All right, that is 4 episodes, actually 6 episodes in the last 2 days we've recorded. Final thoughts, Mark.
Eat Hostess Twinkies. Go back and watch YouTube
No
for
doubt.
Electric Company.
We'll
Learn to read.
put some links on our front page with this article is posted. JR, final thoughts.
I don't know. After seeing the spoiler and Queen Bee and the Thumper, I figure Norman's got to take a back seat. Maybe issue 800. Maybe I consider that Hattie Wilson is into it. Maybe issue 800 should be Spider-Man versus Hattie Winston. She looks badass. Although I'm wondering, yeah. So go ahead.
That's funny. Final thoughts, George.
I really enjoyed the afternoon we've had talking about these things that we remember from our childhood. We look back at them now and we're like, well, these are kind of hokey and everything, but I look at this almost in a similar way as I look at, like, people who don't like the '60s Batman show and don't acknowledge what it did for the character and what it did for comics, because the popularity of that show breathed new life into DC and Batman as a character. Yes, it had a sort of a downturn on the quality of the stories from the comics at the same time, but it got better because it wasn't too long after that you had like Denny O'Neil and Neil Adams taking over Batman and kind of righted the ship in the direction of that we know today. But this got a lot of people into Spidey. It did.
I never thought about how Spidey Super Stories is very similar to the Batman Adam West show. That's a very good comparison.
It's why you pay me the big bucks, Jomo.
Final thoughts, Zach.
Well, I tell you, I was one of those kids that got into Batman due to both the Burton movies, but also the '60s Batman TV show. So this is a great gateway drug for Spidey fans back in that day, and there was a lot of good things that Morgan Freeman's career. Think about it.
Yeah.
But real quick, and I don't want to interrupt you, Zach, but real quick, because we had talked about Rita Moreno and did she appear in these? Venkman, who told us about the record earlier, and Chad also brings up, he says that in an issue of Spidey Super Stories, in an issue of the comic, Rita Moreno's director character appeared in the comic, but of course that's not her doing an actual live action performance. That's in the the Hey You Guys director.
Well,
so anyway, I'm sorry.
Stories, you got your money's worth out of those. That they just go on. There's story after story after story in those things.
I remember because I didn't read the Spidey Super Story when my mom started buying them for me when I was 3. She started buying me the first one I ever got was a Marvel Team Up, and of course it had Spidey, and then it had like Frankenstein and I think like Werewolf by Night, and I was like, oh my god, what is this awesomeness? I remember the first time I ever bought an actual Spidey Super Stories was in the 80s, and I was starting to get into buying back issues of things, and I said, oh my god, I remember these. I used to see this in the store. I never read them when I was a child, and I picked it up and I was like, what the hell is this crap? Because they're using easy to understand words, big print. It's literally like morons talking to one another.
Which is why JR used it so much.
And speaking of JR has not given us his final thoughts.
Yeah, he did.
Did he?
Yeah, I did.
I was the last
he's taking
one.
the back seat to Norman.
Oh, I thought.
Yeah.
No, that's right. Yeah. My bad. I had totally forgotten that. I'm sorry.
JR, you were going to say something, but you got cut off for a minute. What were you going to say?
To be absolutely honest, I forgot. Oh, I was just going to make a comment that, and even though Marvel didn't, charge them for the rights, they didn't take a hands-off approach either. I mean, obviously, when you look at some of the Spidey Super Stories and, the artists, writers, contributed and so obviously they didn't appear on the TV or whatever, but they really did have a partnership with the Electric company on this.
You've got some great John Romita Senior covers on these books too.
Absolutely.
Yeah. All right, good show, everybody. Okay, that was good. Mark, thanks for coming on. This was fun.
Hey, thanks for having me. That was a lot of fun.
Yeah. All right, I need to go feed a dog, and I need to feed this old dog. So
I gotta pee so bad my eyes are yellow. I tell you.
Yeah. Thanks for 6 shows in 2 days, everybody. That was a lot of content. All right, everybody. I'll talk to y'all later.
Bye, everybody.
Bye, Brad. Thank you. Bye.
Kirby.